We'll wait a couple of minutes for people to join, and then we're going to get started.
Okay.
Good.
If I say something, if I talk, then I can just listen.
Well, Harry, my friend. Harry,
How you doing?
He's here.
I'm good.
I'm listening.
That's good.
Just listening.
Am I the only one with headphones because I'm the only one of kids running around here?
Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming on time. We're going to wait maybe 90 more seconds, and then we'll get started. So you're still unmuted, so take it away, everybody.
It's
Rotem,
funny.
shalom. Susan, hello. Roberta, Roberta, hello.
And Yativ
Wise
is on.
family, shalom. Ron, Barhai, Lior, Eli, Carol, Dahlia, Johanna's here. So what's the story? The ones that we don't see are in pajamas already?
It's good that we can see only from the chest up. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, friends, I've just muted everybody, and we're keeping it that way, so we'll be able to hear the speakers and the presenters when they're ready. Welcome, everyone, to tonight's ceremony. Tonight, here in America, already in Israel, it's early in the morning, is beginning the day of Yom Hazikaron. And Yom Hazikaron is a very special day. It's a very difficult day, but it's an important day for us, the Jewish people today in modern history. And I've been privileged for a number of years now to be in Eretz Israel during Yom HaZikaron, together with a match of the living groups, which did not travel this year. And often we've been in Yerucham. That's our Miami sister city. We spend the day in Yerucham, and then there's an evening ceremony, a tekes for the entire city to come together in the city hall. And you really get a taste of how Yom HaZikaron is a day that affects every single family in Israel. As there's a famous expression that is said about the Egyptians. The Torah says about the Egyptians as they left Egypt, En Bayit Asher in Sham Met. There was no home which was not affected by God, by the plagues, and somebody wasn't killed, probably the firstborns. But in a way that applies to every single family in Israel. If it's not your direct family, it's a cousin, it's an uncle, somebody you served with, a friend, someone in the same school, the same neighborhood, the same street, the neighbor. Everyone's been affected by this. And it's a day that we have in mind, and we think about all the fallen soldiers who fought valiantly and to give us what we have today, the great state of Israel. Not just the fallen soldiers, but also any victims of terror. Many, many lives have been sacrificed for the beautiful land of Israel that we have today. Not just in the last 70 years or so, but really in the last thousands of years. But particularly since we've had the chance since 1948 to have independent sovereignty once again in our holy land of Israel, it's been a tough battle. So that's what Yom HaZikaron is. And then in a very moving and in a very difficult but exciting way, it shifts into Yom Haatzmaut, the very next day, the 5th of Iyar. And it's a jubilant day. And it's a day where the two go together. The sacrifices have allowed us to rejoice and to celebrate this great land, the holy land that we have as a people today. And we're so fortunate to be living in this amazing era of history. This year is probably the first time ever since 1948 that Jews are not being able, not in Israel or outside of Israel, to actually come together and congregate as community, as a nation, to mark this special day of Yom Hazikaron. It's very awkward that we're here each in our homes. In Israel was the same thing for the most part. And yet we're doing our best to be able to bring everyone together here on this Zoom or on the Facebook if you're on. And with the presence of so many wonderful people here, we're going to do a special ceremony tonight about Yom Hazikaron and Yom Haatzmaut. To begin with, I'm going to play a song on the screen. I hope that it works out. And it's the famous song by, the lyrics are by Chana Senesh. And the tune was made later. And you probably know Chana Senesh's story about a heroic woman who was already made it to Israel in the early 1940s. And she was a very talented girl, a young girl in her 20s. She was a great poet, a great writer, many, many talents. And then they gathered a team, about 35, 37 people trained by the British who were going to, as paratroopers, make it into the inside territories of the war, of the Holocaust, where their goal was to try to save at least Hungarian Jews or whoever could be saved. And these paratroopers landed, I believe, in Yugoslavia or Czechoslovakia, somewhere there. And she, Chana Senesh, she was 23 years old, together with two other soldiers, as they did successfully, but they were going to cross the border into Hungary. They were caught, arrested, and she was brutally tortured to try to divulge information. They caught the British transistor that she had, and they wanted the codes so they could actually tap into and find out the other paratroopers and everyone else's plans. She refused. And we know of some record of how much she was tortured, and she refused to divulge any information. And finally, she was sentenced to be shot by the firing squad. And when she was being shot, she was offered a blindfold, as they normally do, and she said she refuses. She wants to look the person in the eye who's going to shoot her. And that kind of conscience, with that, she's going to, the person will have to live forever. I don't know how much longer he lived. So to a very short, beautiful poem that she wrote, a wonderful song was composed, and I have here a version that was sung at the March of the Living, I believe about 9-10 years ago by the great Chaim Topol. I'm going to see if I can share this screen for you right now and play this song. Give me a second. 1 minute. All right, here we go. If you can't hear it, please let me know in the messages, but it should work.
The poet Chana Senesh emigrated from Hungary to Eretz Israel in the 1930s. She lived on a kibbutz on the seashore near Caesarea. When the Second World War broke out, together with others, Chana volunteered to fight the Nazis. She was trained by the British as a paratrooper and was dropped behind the Nazi lines in Europe. She was captured, tortured, and executed by the Nazis on November 7th, 1944, at the age of 23. She left us this wonderful poet, Eli, Eli. Eli, Eli, שלא ייגמר לעולם, החול והים, רשרוש של המים, ברק השמיים, תפילת האדם, החול והים, רשרוש של המים, ברק השמיים, תפילת האדם. Eli, Eli, I pray that it never will end. The sand and the sea and the waves breaking and sighing and high over the water, the winds blowing free, the lightning and the rain and the darkness descending, and ever the prayer of a man.
Okay, so that's a very moving song and a story. And in that spirit right now, I have the 5 candles in front of me that I'm going to light. And this, having in mind, many of you have names that you can think about of people who have perished in this great battle to regain sovereignty over our holy land. So close your eyes, or you can watch me light the candles and make a prayer for those who have perished and those whose souls have ascended to the highest places in heaven, and also make a prayer for those in the front lines right now. Safe, they should be protected. And once we're doing this, we have make a prayer for everybody right now who needs protection and healing in light of everything going on in our world, an enemy against the entire world right now, this virus, may it end speedily, and may all those who need healing be healed. Oops. Throughout history, it's been a very colorful history. There's been many heroes that have helped carry forth our nation throughout its old trials and tribulations. And of course, the heroes, the great rabbis, the great scholars, the great communal leaders who have contributed and helped Jewish communities, no matter where they've been, in Israel or in the diaspora, in exiles, during persecution, during better times. And more recently, we've had a new category of heroes of members, Chayalei Tzva Haganah Yisrael, members who have signed up to be part of the nation, the army of the nation that has defended and protected Israel. The citizens of Israel, and even those from abroad, make the great commitment to join the army. And every single Chayal or Chayalet who has fought to defend our nation is a national Jewish hero, is holy, because they've allowed us to have what we have today, the state of Israel, and not just the state of Israel, but they've allowed us, Jewish people all over the world, to live safer, to live more secure, to live with greater trust and greater bitachon in wherever we are. We know that our backs are covered. We know that the Jewish people are stronger than ever, physically, militarily, and also, of course, spiritually and communally. So we are very honored that in our community we have many of these heroes, people who have served in the army, and we've asked as many as we could to share some of their stories briefly about what happened during their time of service. There's all different ages here, so they reflect different eras in the country's history. So to start off, I'm going to show you a picture. I have a picture of them all, and you're going to guess who they are. So for our first speaker, I'm not sure if you're going to guess who he is, because this is how he looked when he was, of course, serving. And it's, as handsome as he was then, could you imagine how much more handsome? Hey, this is the great Yossi Yativ, a wonderful member in our community, the Balkora, a teacher in the community who teaches so much of Jewish language, Hebrew and Torah, and educates our students and takes them to Israel. Yossi, we're so thankful for the service that you gave to our country and you continue to give to the Jewish people. I'm going to spotlight you and unmute you. And if you could please share something with us. Take it away.
Thank you, Rabbi, for the opportunity to speak on this meaningful day. You asked me to speak about my lifetime experience in 5 minutes. I'm not sure I can do that, but maybe I'll do it in 6 minutes. So I want to take you back to July 1965. This is a date that I remember like yesterday. In the morning, I'm taking my final exams in the high school, the matriculation, the Bagrut. And the afternoon, I find myself on the bus to the army base to join Tzahal, to join my duty service in the army. Basically is, again, it's the same routine like everybody else. It's a basic training, which is Tironut. But in my duty service, I was part of Nachal. Nachal means Noar Chalutzi Lochem. If I have to translate it, it will be like youth pioneers fighters. We were a group of 30 youngsters called Gorin, and we served the army. We fought in the army, but at the same time, we asked to build a new settlement on the border with Egypt in the region of Nitzana. That was before 67, and the little kibbutz was called Ktziot at that time. Unfortunately, today it became the biggest prison for the Palestinian people. But anyway, 2 years after, I find myself in the midst of Six-Day War. Here it is, 19 years old, doesn't know anything about war, but war is so fast. I learned to cope with it, and I learned to handle it. After the Nachal, after I finished my duty service, like many other soldiers for the reserve, sometimes the army train you for different profession or different occupation. And I was trained to deal with under Sakravit. If I have to translate it, it would be like military engineering. I was trained to deal with designing minefield or dismantle minefield. This is one of the reasons that I find myself among one of the first troops that crossed the Suez Canal in Yom Kippur War with Ariel Sharon troops, the general that brought the biggest victory of Yom Kippur War for Israel. What the rabbi asked me is to talk a little bit what the army meant to me, what the army is really teach me, what are the values that they teach me. And for me, yes, and I'm sure for everybody else here, the army was not just duty. It was privilege, it was honor. But most of all, it was school for life. It almost was like life coaching. It teaches you values that leads you through your life. And it's not a cliche. I really mean it from the bottom of my heart, that one of the things that the value that leads me until today through life, I contribute to the service in the army. It's something that no university can give you a diploma, nobody can teach you about it. It is just life experience. One of the first thing that I want to talk about, it's the deep and true friendship that you establish in the army. I remember, Rabbi, that in one of your sermons, you spoke about that somebody told you that the best relationship, the best friendship was established actually in the army. This is very, very true. If the army teach you anything, it is that life is not only about you. Life is about others. Life is about having the back of each other. Life is about volunteering yourself for each other. There is a famous saying, I think it's from Pirkei Avot, Kol Yisrael Arevim Ze Lazeh. all Israelite, all Jews guarantee the well-being of each other. And if anything that the army taught me, that is the value. Friendship, true friendship. Till today, I meet some of the friends from the army when I go to Israel. It also at the same time teaching you how to cope with the pain of losing your best friends. Another thing that I wanted to talk about, it is how to, teaching you how to overcome fear. I remember because as my colleagues will witness, the training in the army, it is not just physical, it is also mental, it's also a lot of education. And I remember one of the rabbi, before the mission that we had to do, spoke to us and said that shlichei mitzvah enam muzakin, meaning that if you are carrying the mitzvah, if your mission is mesirut nefesh, you cannot be harmed. So this is one of the things that also the army teaching you is how to cope with fear, how to overcome fear. Not mentioning about resilience. When I'm talking about resilience, I always have the image of my mother. Do you hear me? I always have the image of my mother that sometimes had to send 5 sons to the army at the same time, different branches, different unit. I still remember had motion of ironing our uniform to make sure that we will look our best, we will look tip top before we go to the army base. So in conclusion, what I want to say, if there is anything that the army gave me, it is a sense of pride and a sense of mission, that I have a certain mission on this earth. And the mission is to love my homeland, to defend my homeland, to defend the people of my land, anytime, any place. Thank you very much for listening.
Yossi, for sharing that. That was very beautiful. Yes, the army did teach you, Kol Yisrael Arevim Zeh Bazeh, all Jewish people are. We're in it together in the same boat, and we dedicate our lives to helping out people which you have dedicated your life. Hashem should bless you, Lillian, and your whole family with good health and long life and lots of nachas and many simchas in your family. Thank you very much. For our next speaker, we're going to pull him up on the screen and see if you can guess who it is. This very handsome, courageous soldier. Anyone guess who that is? Well, it's none other than our next speaker, Rotem Rodrig. Rotem, no, sorry, can you see him there? I didn't share the screen. Sorry, hold on a minute. I forgot to share the screen. Did I share it? 1 minute. Where? I already gave it away. So look at this. You'll enjoy it. There we go. Look at this Gibor. Ah, what a picture. That's Rotem, my friends. Yashakoach Rotem. God should bless you. And I'm going to unmute you now, put you in the spotlight, and please share with us.
Thank you, Rabbi, for putting this together. Very special and important day for me, Yom Hazikaron and Yom Haatzmaut. As you can see in my office here in the picture behind me, for me, I think of it every day. I know some people still waiting for Geula, already came right here. And it reminds me every day that freedom doesn't come free, you know, and that obviously ties to serving in the army. The army is the guarantor of the insurance policy of every Jew around the world, that they have a home. So I served a few years after Yossi. I think it's in the 90s. I served in the 108th Brigade, that's a tank brigade, a Merkava tank brigade in the north of Israel. And this brigade is mostly famous. Its most famous hero, his name is Tzvika Gringold. That brigade was actually destroyed and totally destroyed in the Yom Kippur War in the first few days. And Tzvika Gringold, known also as Koach Tzvika, has an amazing story of heroism, resourcefulness mainly, and courage. He's someone that basically jumped from tank to tank after he got hit over and over and kept running that combat that they were in, and actually managed to stop the progress of the Syrian troops. And I highly recommend reading about Koach Tzvika. It's a great story. I served in the early 90s, from 91 to 1994, 3 years, and then I served 5 years in the reserve army as a tank commander. What I'm taking from the army, the point I wanted to make today, and I want to continue from where Yossi ended, is that not only I learned about myself, how much I grew, learned about what I can do, and it was such a wonderful experience, I also learned about others. Just think what happens when you take a group of 18-year-olds from different backgrounds, Ashkenazi, Mizrahi, Dati, Chiloni, Rusi, Ethiopi, from the periphery, from Tel Aviv, Olim Chadashim. Everyone puts uniform on and you wait 3 years to see what happens, and the results are just remarkable, I think. That's what makes Israel. I think Israel wouldn't be Israel without that melting pot of so many people from so many backgrounds. I personally, the first time I met someone from a kibbutz was in the army. I would never meet someone like Yossi or Sagee or Itamar if it wasn't for the army. What about Druzim? Did you ever meet a Druze? It's not just about meeting, it's about living with people. And what do you learn after all of that said and done? You learn that most people agree on most things, and most problems can be bridged. A lot of walls go down, and learn about the other person is always just a great thing. Really, in 2 words, I would say that experience of the army teaches you about Shevet Achim, what it really means to be together, to learn about each other, to understand each other. And I think that's the secret of that, one of the secrets of the tremendous success and growth in 72 years of our country. Thank you. לא שומעים.
Thank you, Rotem. Thank you for sharing that. Really appreciate it. What a beautiful idea that if we only give ourselves a chance to break down those barriers, to communicate with each other, to actually meet each other and talk and recognize how much more we all have in common. A lot of shalom, a lot of peace would be in our country, in Israel, here in between all nations and all communities all across the world. Such an important idea. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you for your service and continued service to the Jewish people. And God should bless you and Malka and your family with good health, long years, and lots of nachas from your children. Well, our male soldiers are very heroic, but we have some even more heroic female soldiers. And the Chayalot, we're very thankful for their service to our nation. And so we have one with us tonight, Johanna, Gorin, who I'm going to unmute you and spotlight you. And Johanna, thank you for being here tonight. And I know your family is excited to see you and friends. So please, Eli's there, thank you.
My picture.
Huh?
My picture, Rabbi.
Oh, I forgot, you're 100% right. Friends, I have to show you.
22 years ago.
I'm sorry, guys, look at this. Look at the eyes, the determination, the posture of somebody ready to defend Klal Yisrael at any cost.
So that was my swearing in on, and that was after 3 weeks of Tiranut, of the basic training. It was really an experience. I'm an Ola Hadasha from Colombia, and I got to Tzahal as a unique. I was like the only Colombian girl in all my base and in all the Tiranut. So everyone loved my accent. And I was like, everyone was like, oh, look the Colombian. And by that time, my Hebrew was not the best because I was only 4 years in Israel after high school. And I joined the army, and it was something really special to be someone not born in Israel, but that I came from far away to join the army. And it was really, I can't describe with my words how I feel and how proud I am to be a Hayele. And it make a really, how you say that? Like it changed my whole life. I came from Colombia, where it was a lot of materialism, like you had all the help in the house and you had everything you wanted. And you got to the army where you are like everyone else. Like, it was something amazing that happened to my life. And from there, I went to the communication. I was a Hayele Chela Keshet. And I was there with an amazing people, like all the Hayalim. They welcomed me amazing. I was really, it was really joyful to be there. There were really hard days, as all the Hayalim had. But you know what? With positivity and good vibe and all the best, like I took all the best of it. And thank God, I'm really blessed for Hashem to send me there, and be able to do my service for 2 years. It changed my life. And I think all the Hayalim, once they're in the army, they see the life differently. And you see different things that you used to see as something really wow. You see it, it's, I don't know. It's really, I get really emotional when I talk about it. So I'm sorry if I'm not really, I don't like to talk so much in public. But really, I'm really proud to be Israeli, not born in Israel, but really, I love Israel, and I hope that I'm Israel high forever and ever, and Tzahal for life.
Amen. Amen. That was fantastic, Johanna. Thank you so much for being here and for sharing that. Very, very special. And thank you for your service. And Shem should bless you, Eli, your families, your parents, your children, and all your extended family with a lot of health and happiness and long life. And keep serving our people here in our community, our people in Israel. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Amen.
Friends, before we introduce our next speaker, I want to play a little song for you. This is a song that is a tefillah l'chaylei Tzahal. Sheberach, it's a special prayer for the welfare. God should protect soldiers on the front line. We say this prayer every single Shabbat in the synagogue, and maybe you already have a clue as to who our next speaker is going to be. I want to play a little clip of a very famous song that we get to hear in our synagogue on the high holidays with our cantor. It's obviously not as beautiful as is recited every Shabbat in the synagogue, even more beautifully by the following speaker, but it's a wonderful rendition of the song, and it happens to be a cappella because, of course, during the Sfira, if you don't, some people are more careful about listening to music. So please pay attention to your screen for the following Sheberach prayer for the welfare of our soldiers. I hope you'll be able to hear this.
Avraham Yitzchak veYaakov,
Can someone unmute themselves? Do you hear the song? You don't hear. Let me try one more time. And send me a message if you hear it.
Protect our brave brothers and sisters, risking their lives to protect our people. Welcome them under the shelter of your holy embrace. May God be with us in war as in times of peace. Soften the hearts of our enemies and guide us all on a path to peace, so that one day we may realize the promise when nation will no longer fight against nation and prepare for war no more.
Wow, that was a beautiful rendition, but it's nothing like we get in the synagogue every Shabbat. Friends, take a look at this our next speaker. Here he is. Guys, can you see this guy? This is another one of our heroes. You can recognize who he is. He looks like he's on his way to some very important mission, all dressed up with all kinds of tools. Maybe we'll get more of a background of this picture. Sagee, we're very proud of you. Thank you for your service. I know you're here with also family who are watching you live, no pressure. So I'm going to unmute you, put you in the spotlight, and please take it away.
Okay, first of all, thank you for letting me say that Barhai every Shabbat, but as you can see, there's a lot of soldiers here, so I'm willing to share it with them every Shabbat to say the bracha. Yom Hazikaron, it's a very emotional day. Believe it or not, but everybody in Israel knows someone who died, whether in combat or in terror attack, whether it's a family or a friend of a friend. A little bit about myself. I served, I think I'm the youngest one here. I served in the years 1998 to 2001. The unit I served in is called a gauze. A gauze, it's a nut. What is a gauze? A gauze, it's elite unit specializing in guerrilla warfare, camouflage, works in small teams, and adapt to any environment. Egoz was created in the 70s, then was shut down after the Yom Kippur War and reopened in 1995 because of the Hezbollah. The Hezbollah, it says, back then it was a small guerrilla organization, terrorist guerrilla organization that was acting in the southern part of Lebanon. And Tzahal had to create a guerrilla unit of its own to fight guerrilla units. You can't have a big army fighting small guerrilla units. So they created that guerrilla unit, and that guerrilla unit, it's the unit that I end up being in. So it's 3 years. To graduate and become an active soldier, what do I mean by an active soldier? To become a soldier that start doing operation. So to graduate, it takes 1 year and 4 months of really hard training. We started, I think, a couple of hundreds, I don't know, but we end up being 2 teams of 15 people each. So during the training, it was very challenging. They try to break you physically and mentally. And if you pass that, you also need to fit socially to a group of 15 guys that's going to be together for 3 years. As Rotem said earlier, everyone comes from different backgrounds. You need to get along with the rich, with the poor, with the Ashkenazic, with the Sephardic, with the lone soldiers, with the city, with the kibbutz, and you get the point, with everybody. So we were 15 guys for 3 years. Each soldier in the team had a specialty. My specialty was being a sniper, but mostly being the navigator of the unit, of my team, sorry. Which means I'm always going in the front. There's good and there's bad, but I'm not going to go into that. There are many stories, but today it's traditionally on Yom Hazikaron to speak about fallen soldiers. And unfortunately, I have a story about my friend, a very, 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 very close friend. His name was Benji Hillman, who died in the Second Lebanon War. So just in generally in Israel today and tomorrow, everyone are united. It's a very special feeling. There are no disagreement. Yes, no disagreement among Israelis, no fights, no arguments. Everyone remember and pay respect to those who died by visiting a grave. Obviously, it's different this year. It's basically a day that everybody kind of like hug the Israeli soldiers. And as a soldier, you feel that. About Benji, other than being an extremely intelligent person, he had an unbelievable talent and the ability to stay calm under stressful situation, whether doing the training and doing operations. From the beginning, Benji was put in a leading role. Although he was at the same level of us, it was put in charge of us, just to show you what kind of a person he was. So I have a couple of stories about him, about me and him. During, again, the 1 year and 4 months, there were a period of 2 weeks that we were training to do deep snow, hard weather survival in the north part of Israel, in the Mount of Hermon. It's not such a high mountain, but it can get really bad weather there. So we had 2 weeks of training, and there was one specific very, very hard day that from morning to night we were practicing fighting, navigation in snowstorms, heavy weight carrying. And close around the midday, they told us that tonight we're going to spend the night outside in the snowstorm. So they told us to do that, we're going to have to build our own igloos. So after a very hard day of training, and everybody is complaining, everybody's in pain, everybody's hungry, everybody's cursing. Sorry, Rabbi. Benji, who did not take part of all these complaints, come to me right before we finish digging, his hand is blue. I touch his hand, he doesn't feel it. He brings the hand to my face and he says, "What are you crying about? Look at my hand. I'm losing my hand. Keep digging." So this is one example of who Benji was. Another one, after graduating, which is a year and 4 months of very hard training, we were finally rewarded to do an operation which was like 15 kilometers inside Lebanon. This is our first operation. It's like in college when you graduate and you get your first day at job, but times 10 worse and times 10 stressful. So just to give you an example, Benji was leading a group of 4 soldiers separate from us. So while everybody was peeing in their pants, Benji was like a rock, emotionless and very professional. Last thing about Benji, on a different operation, was a very high classified operation that, again, in Lebanon, we were sitting in an ambush for 4 days, and it was time for a different team to come and replace us in a specific location. It was Benji who was supposed to come and replace my team at the time. The entire Northern Command Center was high alert because of that operation. And just to give you the picture, it's pitch dark in the middle of foresty area. We have a few minutes to do the exchange because any second, something big can happen. Benji teams come close to us, and during the exchange, when everybody's on edge, stressful and nervous, Benji decides to look for me. We have a few minutes. So he's going around in the pitch dark, he finds me, and he thought it was very important to speak about our plans for the upcoming weekend. So that's who Benji was. Benji died in the Second Lebanon War 2 weeks after he got married. He was in charge of 120 soldiers. He developed a special relationship with the lone soldiers. Lone soldiers there's 2 kinds of lone soldiers. Those soldiers who come from foreign countries, United States, Europe, South America, and come to Israel to serve, and they don't have a home. And then those Israeli lone soldiers who come from broken homes, and they have no place to go on the weekend. So that is the one common that both groups have, that when it comes to vacations on the weekend, they have no place to go. After Benji died, his family, with a lot of support from all over the world, created Habayit Shel Benji, which is the house of Benji. Currently has 43 rooms that host loans. It's dedicated for combat lone soldiers that on the weekend, they have a home to come to, they have a meal, they have laundry service, they have internet, they have everything they need to make them feel like they have a home. So that's where I want to end my part. I have no idea how long was it, but if anybody has any question, more than welcome. And if you want to get more information about Habayit Shel Benji, please contact me. It's an amazing place, and I was there. It's in Ra'anana.
Wow. Sagee, thank you so much for sharing that, and especially about your and also about Benji. I knew a little bit about your relationship with Benji, but not this much that you just shared. By the way, if you maybe can send me an email if you have right now of Benji, I'll be able to probably get it up on the screen for all of us to see. I'm not sure if you have it handy with you.
Picture of him?
Whilst we're still in the program. So thank you so much for sharing that. And you're a hero, you're a chayal, you saw a lot, you've been through a lot, and Hashem should bless you and your wife, Dalia, and your family, all of your parents, your children, with only good health and long life, lots of nachas, and keep serving the Jewish people with pride, with honor, and with dedication. Yasher koach. Friends, now we're up to our next speaker. I'm going to share a picture. We'll see if you're able to work out who it is. It's another hero that we have in our community. I wasn't told when I received this picture. I think it's the person on the right. I think I'm correct, or I'll be corrected soon. Can you work out who it is, that soldier on the right who's in the middle of an important call, about to make an important decision in protection of our holy land? Yes, if you've guessed it correct, it is none other than our hero, Itamar Barhai. I'm going to try to find you, or you can unmute yourself. There we are, you're on the Tali. I'm going to put you in the spotlight. Itamar, yasher koach to you for your service, and God should bless you. Please take it away.
Good evening, everybody. And today is Erev Yom Hazikaron for the soldiers that gave their life to Israel, and of course, all the terrorists, people from the army, from the police, whoever gave their life for Israel. It's a very emotional day. But my story is, I grew up on the kibbutz on the south side, on the Gaza border, when my parents still lived there and my sister lived there. So they're on attack on a daily basis. Right now with the corona, it's more quiet, but they're home, they're not going anywhere. We, all our life, when we, as a kids, everybody talking about going to the army. For us, it's no option but go to the best unit in the army, give the best you can after you grow up, finish school. And of course, we live in a commune, so we know how to live with each other. We know how to do a lot of things. So basically, we kind of emotionally ready go to the army when you're 18. There's no question you need to go and serve your country and Medinat Israel and Eretz Israel. And I was very high command to go to one of the elite units like Sagee, but as a mechanic, which I still today, that's what I did in the kibbutz when I was a kid, grew up. For me, it was a fit to go to the Shirion, which is the tanks commanders. It's the biggest unit in Israel is tanks, and that's where I decided to go. We drafted in 82 in February. In the Lebanon War, the first war broke out in June. So training for us was very, very, very fast because the war broke out and we need to be trained. Soldier got killed, Israel is under pressure. So they bring older people from the reserve to give us the basic training of tanks. We, in 6 weeks, was usually take 4 or 5 months, we finished the training. We went up to Lebanon, on the east side of Lebanon, in the mountain of Bahamdun. I was there. Luckily, my father was in reserve at the same time. We was in the same place, which is kind of unique. That me and my father served in the same place. It was, he took care of me, bring me my sandwich from home and all this kind of stuff. But and then very fast, I went to another course to be a commander on a tank, another few months. So I was in and out of Lebanon because Israel was in Lebanon for a few years. So I become a commander of a tank, go up again to Lebanon, then go down. Then I went to become a sergeant in the Israeli army. And let's take another few months. I become a sergeant in the tank commanders. And my job was to train young soldiers to be fighters in tanks. And at this time, we also went to the Lebanon, in and out. I was in Beirut in Yom Kippur. I mean, it was Lebanon war first, but it's time of Yom Kippur. I was in Beirut. In my army time, or the service that I did 4.5 years. I became a captain of tanks, which is 11 tanks and a few other armors that we are in charge. I did it for 1.5 years. So I served altogether 4.5 years. Friendship, that's what the picture that we saw. That's what we talk about friendship. I met my best friend till today, and we trained together. He was in different unit after all, but we was and stay and still best friend till today. And to be serving the army, serving Israel, you know, as an Israeli kid, grow up, it's the best things that you become more mature and you're ready for life. And I think that's the best you can have, give and also get from the Israel country. So I remember a lot of people that we know that got killed, got ruined. It's we know we're touching them, and I hope we all see shalom soon.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much, Itamar. Yasher koach for that. Wonderful with you and your father. It's a very special story. So thank you for your heroism, for Am Yisrael, for Klal Yisrael, for Medinat Yisrael. Hashem should bless you and your wife, your children, your grandchildren, Kol HaMishpacha. B'marichut yamim v'shanim tovot, haber biyut, haber nachat, haber smachot.
Amen.
Friends, before we continue, we have here a picture of Benji that Sagee spoke about earlier. If I'm not mistaken, Benji is the second from the left. That's two to the left from Sagee, right? Two to Sagee's left to us, or right in the picture. So that is Benji. Wow, that's a good board. So that's sad. But Sagee put the information in the message in the chat box. You can look more into Benji's home and see all about it, and also how you can be more. At this point, friends, I want to share another song with you that I'm going to play online, and we're transitioning. We're transitioning from Yom Hazikaron into Yom Haatzmaut, which is always an interesting time. And we have the two moments of silence in Israel: the nighttime and the morning. And no matter where you are in the country, you just stop, you pause. Everything. The country comes to a standstill. It's a very somber moment. In fact, I remember last year, I think, I actually had to leave the Maccabeats living early. So I left the evening of Yom Hazikaron to come back to America. And I was in the airport. I came to the airport like 7:45, and I was in the line. It was a very long line. Allowed check-in. There's always a very long line. And all of a sudden, 8 o'clock, the airport stopped. And there was one of these guys who was riding that floor polishing machine. And I don't even think he was Jewish. And he stopped his machine. Didn't just stop the machine. He gets off and he stands at attention. And the whole airport was just shut and silent and with the siren. It was for me, it was a very, very special moment. So we're very grateful to all of our chayalim that have shared tonight. And moving into Yom Haatzmaut, Avinu Shebashamayim, Tzur Yisrael v'Go Allah. Thank you, our Father in heaven, for the blessings you have given us. Thanks to God, thanks to our soldiers, thanks to all of the heroes who have helped us, bring us to this moment. And many of you remember a famous cantor that lived in our community, Cantor Schulhof, and he gave a wonderful, wonderful rendition of a song that we sing, at least partially, every Shabbat. And I want to play it with you together. And I encourage you to please sing along as we play this song together. And then we'll have just a couple more things after this for the ceremony. I'm just going to find the screen I want to share. Sorry, 1 second. Here we are. We're canceling that. And we're doing this, and we're blowing this up. All right. Let me know, please, that you can hear it. Okay, friends, as you know, the song continues. It's a little longer, so we're running shorter on time, but if you want the link, I'm happy to send you the link. But before we conclude for tonight, I'd like to share a word with you. Oh, yeah, yeah. Thank you, sweetie. Sweetie, man, close the door. I want to share a final word with you, and what I think one of the greatest blessings that the state of Israel and the soldiers and all the heroes have brought to us today. Thinking about, look, we're all in our homes. We're all closed up and locked down here from our homes. And in a way, that's been the story of the Jewish people throughout much of our history in the last 2,000 years, where since the destruction of the temple, we've been exiled from our homeland, and we lived in host nations, many of whom were not very gracious to us, many of whom persecuted us and oppressed us. And our whole Jewish experience, Yiddishkeit, was experienced behind the walls in the secrecy of our homes. There was no Shabbat in the synagogues for many, many periods of our history. There was no Judaism on the streets. People didn't bear their Judaism out on the streets. For most of our history, Jews were afraid, rightfully so, because if you went the wrong way, or they felt, you could be in major trouble. And I'm not even talking about the times of great persecution and war and the Holocaust and those kinds of things, even in other times as well. And suddenly, 1948, and there was this new confidence of the Jewish people, where the world had to take us more seriously. The world take us more seriously, and we're going to take ourselves more seriously. And we're able to flaunt and practice and exercise publicly our Yiddish Judaism. And it's a great blessing. And I heard just recently a story, someone had told me there in 1967. At that time, there were many religious Jews in the college there, but nobody wore a kippah, because many people didn't wear a kippah publicly. And then all of a sudden, 1967, everything changed. And after the war, the victory, people came on the streets wearing the kippah. It happened in America, it happened in Israel, it happened in every country around the world. A new pride. Miracles of Hashem and heroism of our people led to us taking ourselves more seriously. The world can take us more seriously, like I said, and being so proud of who we are and what we have. And look where we are today. Today, we're very fortunate in Miami, but in most of America and most of the world today, fortunate to be able to practice our Judaism and wear our Jewish identities, not just in our homes and not just in the secrecy of our own spaces, but out on the streets. We walk on the streets on Shabbat, and we parade on the festivals, and we have an array of kosher stores and restaurants and synagogues and centers and JCCs and federations, which is unbelievable that we have today. We're very blessed to have that in our community, and many communities have that. Comes to the festivals, we light the menorahs in the streets, and a few weeks ago I was singing Shabbat music in the streets, and not everybody is Jewish, and yet everybody enjoyed it. Everybody was appreciative for what the Jewish people contribute to our neighborhood, to our city, and to our country. And that's a pride that we need to have stronger, because the world needs to learn from us. We have had a long history, and we've fought to get here. And we have the Torah, we have the tradition, and we have the gifts and the lessons to ourselves and to teach the rest of the world. And as Rabbi Sachs often says, non-Jews will respect Jews who respect themselves. And I think that's a very powerful idea. And what a great opportunity we have now, 2020. Hopefully very soon, this lockdown, the virus will be eradicated, people will be healthy and well, and we'll go out there on the streets, this time doing more than we were doing beforehand, because that's maybe a redemption that we can bring to this crazy story. We don't even know what it means, but hopefully we'll take away from it. We can be more present, more engaged with the community that we know about, with the community that we don't yet know about, but that want us to reach out to them and to bring them in to our walls, to our synagogues, to our Jewish community centers. And there's so much that we could do. And extra mitzvot, extra good deeds, extra outreach to another person will be the call of the hour. And we're grateful that we have strength and the backing of Israel and of the great army of Israel. And of course, Hine lo yanum v'lo yishan shomer Yisrael, the great guardian of Israel up in the heavens, will never rest, nor sleep, nor slumber. And he should always protect with 2 eyes and 2 hands, Talmud says, over our land of Israel, over Jewish people all over the world, over all good people all over the world. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May it happen speedily. So it's a day of great gratitude to Hashem, and great gratitude to all the heroes that were the vehicles through which Hashem channeled his blessings of miracles. So in that spirit, I want to share with you a final poem, and also one last song for the evening, something a little more upbeat that we can enter tomorrow night, Yom Haatzmaut. But this is a poem that contextualizes this bridge between Yom Hazikaron and Yom Haatzmaut. If you can look here, it's the background. Many of you may have heard of this poem, but after the UN in 1947 established that there'll be State of Israel, so Chaim Weizmann, the first president of the country, of the state, declared, he realized that it's not going to be an easy battle. And he said that freedom will not come to us on a silver platter. And it's told that the poet Natan Alterman was in a bar that night, somewhere on the streets of Tel Aviv, celebrating the announcement about the State of Israel. And then he overheard some people talking who said, there's going to be a big battle. And somebody said, 10,000 Jewish people are going to be killed in that battle. And his heart skipped beats, and he describes how it went from great exultant joy to fear and anxiety. And he went home that night, and he started to write this very poem. I'll read it. We can all read it together. It's on your screen, to be followed by a song. I want to ask Chanie, my wife, dear Rebbetzin, to please read this poem for us.
All right, it's my first time reading this poem, so let's do this. The Silver Platter, translator not identified. The earth grows still, the lurid sky slowly pales over smoking borders. Heartsick but still living, a people stand by to greet the uniqueness of the miracle. Readied, they wait beneath the moon, wrapped in awesome joy before the light. Then soon, a girl and boy step forward and slowly walk before the waiting nation. In work clothes and heavy shod, they climb in stillness, wearing still the dress of battle, the grime of aching day and fired night, unwashed, weary until death, not knowing rest, but wearing youth like dews in their hair, Silently the two approach and stand. Are they of the quick or of the dead? Through wondering tears the people stare. Who are you, the silent two? And they reply, we are the silver platter upon which the Jewish state was served to you. And speaking, fall in shadow at the nation's feet. Let the rest in Israel's chronicles be told.
Thank you, Chanie. And it's not a silver platter, but it has the heroism in the lives of our people with, unfortunately, too many sacrifices as well. Friends, I'm going to play one last song for tonight. If you know it, you'll sing along. And let me find this, and from none other than our dear friends, the Maccabeats. And let's take it away.
על הקמת מדינה יהודית בארץ ישראל, היא מדינת ישראל.
בארץ ישראל קם העם היהודי, החלוצים מעפילים ומגינים הפריחו נשמות, החיו שפתם העברית, בנו כפרים וערים והקימו יישוב גדר. על הכל קושי, מניעה וסכנה, הם לא פסקו לתבוע את זכותם בחיי כבוד, חירות ועמל ישרים במולדת העמה. לפיכך נתכנסנו ומכריזים בזאת על הקמת מדינה יהודית בארץ ישראל, היא מדינת ישראל. מדינת ישראל תהא פתוחה לעלייה, ומושתתה על יסודות החירות, הצדק והשלום. תבטיח חופש דת מצפון, לשון חינוך ותרבות, לטובת כל תושביה. לפיכך נתכנסנו ומכריזים בזאת על הקמת מדינה יהודית בארץ ישראל, היא מדינת ישראל. זוהי זכותו הטבעית של העם היהודי להיות ככל עם ועם, עומד ברשות הטוב. לפיכך נתכנסנו ומכריזים בזאת על הקמת מדינה יהודית Yisrael.
Okay, my friends, I hope you enjoyed that beautiful song from the Maccabeats. I want to thank all of you for joining us this evening. I want to thank our presenters, our Chayalim, Chayalot, for giving up their time. I know it's not always so easy to recount these experiences, and I'm sure that whatever you did recount, there's so much more that you didn't have time for. Hopefully we'll have more opportunity to hear from you and other Chayalim in the community who weren't able to present tonight. Thank you for joining us. God bless you. God bless Israel. God bless America. May we be able to share in happy, festive times and simchas together, in good health and happiness. Stay safe, stay happy, stay hopeful, and lehitraot, kol tov.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, Rabbi. It was beautiful.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi.
From the junior board president.
Oh, we missed that junior board.
תראה איתמר. רגע. וואו, זה התמונה שהיית צריך לשים. תגיד לי, מה אתה?
I want to check the chat.